We're counting down 10 board games that have been getting a lot of attention this past month, including several returning favorites that are duking it out for position number 1 on our countdown. Which one will emerge victorious? Well, let's start counting them down and find out. Hello and welcome back to this month's list of 10 of the most popular board games as of October 2017. This top 10 list is based on the daily averages of boardgamegeek.com's hottest games list over the past 30 days. Basically, these are the games that people are looking at and talking about the most on the internet's largest board game database website. Well, hopefully, this countdown may help you find some new games that you wouldn't have known about otherwise. We're going to list all 10 games, but if there's a game on the list that you'd like more information about, well, let me know in the comments below and I'll see what I can do about either highlighting it in a future episode or perhaps even in its own separate video. But for now, let's get started with the list. Let's start off this month with a game that's brand new to the countdown, Lisboa, designed by Vital Lacerda at number 10. Lisboa is a game about the reconstruction of Lisboa after the great earthquake and subsequent tsunami and fires that it suffered in 1755. In the game, players will take on the role of nobles who have been assembled to influence the reconstruction and business development of the new city. Players will work with the engineers and architects of Lisboa to build it anew. Lisboa features artwork by the talented artist Ian O'Toole, whose work also adorns the game Nemo's War, which recently reached number 10 on the countdown. Which actually brings up an interesting question. Do you think that Ian's artwork, or any artist's designs for that matter, can have enough of an impact on a game's popularity to help propel it into the top 10? In the comments, let me know what you think about what part you think that art has in how much buzz a board game gets. Alright, before we go any further, first, a confession. I was initially really excited when I saw that the game in spot number 9 this month was Through the Ages, A New Story of Civilization. And while I do think that this is a great game, I have to confess that I was a little disappointed when I learned that its recent buzz wasn't due to the release of its anticipated upcoming first expansion. Many people, including myself, were hoping that the Through the Ages expansion would be released at least by Essen later this month. Unfortunately, as recently as September 24th, an associate of the game's publisher, CGE, confirmed that the expansion is probably more likely to be released in 2018 at this point. Now, Through the Ages is already a popular game, coming in as the second most highly rated game of all time on BoardGameGeek. But with its expansion delayed, this recent surge in popularity that it's experiencing is probably actually more likely due to the digital version of the game that was released for iOS and Android on September 14th. With the boost in popularity that Through the Ages received from the app, I wonder how high up on the countdown it's going to climb when its expansion is eventually released. Well, hopefully, we won't have to venture too far into 2018 to find out. Coming in at number 8 this month is Twilight Imperium 4th Edition. This new version of the game, which was released at Gen Con this past summer, refreshes the artwork and plastic molds, as well as streamlines the rules and phases of its gameplay. But at its core, it's still the same concept as the 3rd edition of the game, which has been in print since 2005. Even so, I have to admit, the improvements that I've seen in the 4th edition have tempted me to add it to my collection. What do you think? Do you own Twilight Imperium 3rd Edition? And if so, are you planning on purchasing, or have you already purchased, this 4th edition? Let me know if you think its purchase would be a justifiable one. My checkbook awaits your answer. Alright, so the next few games have already appeared on previous countdowns, and I have discussed them all in detail. So let's take a look at these repeat listings. First of all is Spirit Island, which joins us for a second month, this time slipping slightly from number 5 down to 7. Spirit Island is a cooperative game in which players are spirits defending their island home from invading colonists. Now, I discussed Spirit Island in greater detail in last month's countdown, so I will add a link to that video right there. And hey, while you're checking out the video for info about Spirit Island, you can check out information about Scythe as well, which holds its previous position at spot number 6 on the countdown. The continued interest in this game, the unceasing continued interest in this game, is no doubt spurred by the upcoming release of its next expansion, the Wind Gambit. But just when is this expansion planned to hit store shelves? Yesterday? No. On September 21st, Jamie Stegmaier, the game's designer and publisher, estimated that, quote, retailers won't be able to release the Wind Gambit expansion until December 5th, unless they all have it earlier than that. So it looks like anyone that has estimated that the Wind Gambit is going to be available sooner than that is just blowing smoke. After yo-yoing up and down the countdown, Arkham Horror the card game bounces back up the countdown a few spots again this month to settle in at number 5 this time. This game's omnipresence on the countdown must be assisted in part to the highly rated additional content that's been released for it. As of this recording, 24 items listed as scenario packs and expansions have been released for the game within the last 24 months. And while that may make it sound like Fantasy Flight is simply just vomiting out content for this game, the lowest ranking on BoardGameGeek for one of these add-ons is still 8.0 out of 10. That's a pretty good track record, and it helps to demonstrate one of the reasons why Arkham Horror the card game remains on our countdown months after I've run out of things to say about it. Spot number 4 on our list is held by Massive Darkness this month, a game that made its premiere on the countdown last month at spot number 2. Massive Darkness is described as a dungeon crawler RPG built upon the Zombicide game engine. Players play heroes of a selected character class, gain XP and level up, defeat monsters, and gain loot. As with Spirit Island, Massive Darkness is another game that I went into more detail about last month. So, if you'd like to know more about this game, last month's countdown may be a good place to start. Good grief, this is a long stretch of games that have appeared on the countdown for multiple months. You know what? I'm gonna break protocol and mix things up for a minute, okay? We'll continue with the top 3 games in just a moment, but first, let's take a look at a random game that received some buzz this month, but didn't crack the top 10. Of the 127 games that heated up the BoardGameGeek hotness list this last month, let's take a look at number 77, an expansion for Small World called Sky Islands, which I didn't even know was a thing that was in development until I just randomly picked it while I was putting together this episode. Small World, Sky Islands, introduces 7 new races and powers to the Small World base game, but also gives those races, and all the previously released races, new territory in which to fight for control of. This expansion includes an additional game board that contains several Sky Islands on it, oddly enough. Then, several access points are added to the main board, which connect it to the Sky Islands. Now, whenever a faction stands on one of the access points, they can try to conquer the Sky Island with the matching symbol. The Small World Sky Islands expansion is currently scheduled for release in November. Will its upcoming release cause it to rise up on the hotness list even higher, or is it gonna just deflate like a leaky balloon? Well, we'll find out in the weeks to come, but for now, let's return to the countdown with this month's top 3 games. Speaking of game number 3, Crandall McCrandleson writes in to ask, Terraforming Mars has been present on the countdown each month since the series started in May. Do you think that its luck has finally run out and that it will not appear on the countdown this month? Well, Crandall, to answer your question, I do. I think it's done. Edging up a notch to spot number 3 this month is, once again, Terraforming Mars. This is likely helped by the fact that information about the game's second expansion, Venus Next, has recently become available. This yet unreleased expansion has players building flying cities and making the atmosphere more hospitable on the deadly planet Venus. This expansion adds around 50 project cards and 5 corporations with a special focus on how to make Venus hospitable. With its new floater resource, a new milestone, a new award, a new tag, and a new terraforming perimeter, players will also have more paths to victory to choose from. So keep an eye out for the next Terraforming Mars expansion, Venus Next, which is almost guaranteed to keep this game on the countdown month after month. On our little countdown, the struggle for first place continues as former number 1 Gloomhaven claws its way back up the list to spot number 2 this month. Gloomhaven and Terraforming Mars are the only games to have appeared on the countdown for each of the past 6 months. But even Gloomhaven's persistence wasn't enough to reclaim the throne from the game in the number 1 spot this month, which, for a second time in a row, goes to the game in position number 1, The Seventh Continent, which was in development for nearly 2 years after its original Kickstarter, but finally started shipping to its backers earlier this summer. Fortunately, initial reports by players who now have their hands on the game suggest that it was definitely worth the wait. But, as with many Kickstarters, those who didn't back it months and months and months ago when it was still an unknown game have been, unfortunately, unable to easily obtain a copy of it. Well, as of the time of this recording, a new Kickstarter for it is currently running for the second printing of Seventh Continent. This Kickstarter runs through October 19th, 2017, and it's not only an opportunity to score the second printing of the game, and also all of the previous campaign stretch goals, but also new content in the form of the What Goes Up Must Come Down add-on, a satchel and journal binder, and even more stretch goals that are being unlocked right now. The estimated delivery date for this version of the Seventh Continent Kickstarter is March 2017. So I want to know, are you one of the 21,000 people who's backing this one? And there you have it. There is your list of the 10 most popular board games as of October 2017. And if you have any suggestions for our next episode, please let me know because I welcome your feedback. And for more board game news, reviews, and commentary, be sure to subscribe to Pair of Dice Paradise on YouTube. And remember, please, that videos like this are made possible by viewers like you who have been supporting Pair of Dice Paradise's Pod Pledge fundraising campaign. Thank you all for your support. It really does help and make a difference. Until next time, I've been Chaz Marler, and take care. Little Harold Shrimpfork writes in to ask if we have anything to say about Timothy Banana Fruit writes in. The ghost of Abraham Lincoln asks if we know about the reflection of myself that I see when I close my eyes at night, writes in to ask about terraforming Mars. Someone asks a sentient banana wants to know about terraforming. My copy of Mission Red Planet writes in to ask if terraforming Mars has been present on the countdown. Why would it? It has no arms. Terraforming Mars is full of bees, apparently. Joseph J. Handelprout asks, Terraforming Mars has been present in the countdown each month since the series started in May. Will it be... That's not what he said at all!